Welcome to Latte with a Lawyer, a podcast dedicated to bringing you the stories of some of America's most successful lawyers, figuring out what makes them tick, how they creatively solve problems, and how others aspiring to be them can follow in their footsteps.
Okay, welcome to another episode of Latte with a Lawyer. I'm your host, Jonathan Brickman, and today we've got an interesting guest here from Missouri, Norman Newmark from the firm of McCarthy, Leonard and Kammerer. Is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, excellent. Good. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So just to keep with the theme of the show, I'm on my third cup of coffee. How do you get started every day?
Well, I was thinking instead of latte with a lawyer, it should be tea with a tax attorney because I'm a tea guy.
The teas.
I've had one cup of hot coffee my entire life, and only because I was freezing out in the desert in New Mexico. They had the balloon fiesta out there in Albuquerque and what have you, and they had nothing else. I wanted hot chocolate or hot tea, but all they had was coffee.
Got it.
A coffee person.
Okay. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I've been surprised. I think my assumption is most adults and particularly lawyers drink coffee just to keep going, but I've discovered that water and tea are also choices. So
yeah, and maybe it's I have some English ancestry. Maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know.
That could do it. Where's your English ancestry from?
Well, that is a little bit of an interesting story. The family originally started out in Poland, and they sojourned in London for a while, where my grandfather was born.
Yep.
They lived there for a while, and they came to the States.
Got it.
Family lore has it, and I'm not saying it's true. I'm just telling you what the family lore is. Family lore has it that back around the time Jack the Ripper, my great-grandparents were out for a stroll around London, and they heard all kinds of commotion down the street, police bobby whistles and all that business. And as some guy came out in the night and they couldn't make out his face, and he said, "If you don't say anything, I won't hurt you." And he flies off into the night. And later they found out Jack the Ripper had just killed somebody down the street. Now that's a story, whether it's true or not, I don't know, but it's pretty good.
Well, it's a great story. What year would that have been? I don't even remember when Jack the Ripper.
1880s, something like that.
Got it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, your immigration sounds similar to mine. So Poland via either, the UK or the United States. So
yeah, same
kind of thing. Interesting. So tell us about the kind of work you do and how you got started.
Well, people ask me what I do. The cocktail answer is death and taxes. A very popular topic, by the way, at the cocktail hour.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I started off as a tax guy, and this is going back a number of years. And I started off at a small firm, and I know all kinds of tax, particularly the federal tax.
Mm-hmm.
And that was back in the day. The state tax exemption was $600,000 back in Reagan. That's how far back it is. And so everybody and his brother and his dog, if you had a house and a 401k and a life insurance policy, you had an estate tax problem. So that's how I got into the estate planning and the probate side of things, only because everybody had, back in those days, had a tax issue. Now that's much less of a problem, but nonetheless, I head up the department of our firm on the estate planning and probate side. And then when it comes to the corporate transactions and what have you, and sometimes they're interrelated, I get involved in the corporate tax side, and I teach that at Washington University. I teach corporate tax course
nice.
Fall.
So WashU has a law school, yes?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Top 20 law school.
Top, yeah. Wait, you graduated from WashU, of course.
Yes.
No, I know it's is there a med school there too? WashU?
One of the top one or two, or
med school.
Top five at least medical school.
Yeah, no, I know it's a great university.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. No, it's a great place. St. Louis is an interesting city too. My parents spent a little bit of time there. at one point of their lives. Why'd you decide to become a lawyer? How did that happen?
Well, that's kind of also another family story. It's kind of the family profession. There are several well-known Newmark attorneys in town. Hopefully, I'm one of them.
Yep.
So that's what drew me to it. My uncle's an attorney and a bunch of my cousins and what have you. My dad never went into the profession. And so that's kind of what drew me into it. And I looked at it and decided that's where I was going to be. That was for me. Now, I didn't know that going in. Nobody knows if you cut out for it until you actually get there.
Got it. What'd you study as an undergraduate student?
Actually, I had a major in political science.
Okay.
And I did take a number of accounting courses. I won't say I had a minor in accounting, but I did take a number of business and accounting courses, and maybe that's what led me to tax. I found out I had a knack for the tax law. And that's sort of an interesting story. Back in the day, you had to take the federal income tax course. I don't think that you do nowadays. And so, but anyway, I had, like everybody else, I took the course, and the professor threw out a question. And I don't remember what the question was, but I remember the answer came to me. It was like the heavens parted and the beam of light shone down on me and the angels were singing, and the answer came to me, capital gains. I went to my neighbor and I said, well, I think it's capital gains. What do you think? And he says, yeah, it sounds good. And I raised my hand. And from then on, I had to be prepared because I was the go-to guy when the class was stumped. And
they went to you? They went to you.
I was the go-to guy, for better or worse.
All
But
right.
I found out I had a knack for it. And so that's how I got involved in tax in particular. I didn't know I wanted to do that going in, but it sort of meshed with actually a couple of things. It meshed with the accounting courses, of course.
Yeah.
But what I found is that the tax code is sort of an algebraic equation. And I did well in algebra in high school. And if you look at how the tax code except is provided in section 183 and provided in B and accepted in A, and it's almost a mathematical equation.
Sure.
And so, it clicked for me. It doesn't click for everybody. Either you're a tax person or you're not. That's the way it is.
Well, the code is very complicated. I know that.
It is, and then they keep adding stuff to it.
Has it got easier or more complicated from the last administration?
By far more complicated now. Don't get me wrong. There are certain provisions that date back to the 39 code or the 55 code that have just sort of carried over, and Congress has tinkered with them. So the basics and the theory behind tax law has always remained the same. It's just that when you get into a lot of the more sophisticated planning, then the regulations have just piled on one on top of the other.
Yeah, interesting.
One exception to that rule, and I'll mention that. Time was that if a business entity was to be taxed as a corporation or a partnership, you had one or the other. You had these complicated rules in case you had a business that was not incorporated, which would easily be a corporation, but sort of a hybrid business, like let's say an LLC. And there was litigation, all kinds with the IRS and taxpayers. How do we treat this? Because there are case laws, cases go on both ways. And to the credit of the Treasury Department, in 1997, something along those lines, they came out with a regulation called check the box regulations. You taxpayer, tell us what you want to be. We don't care. Just tell us. Fill in the form or you're on the fallback rules. We don't care. just tell us. And it was, I wish they would do that with a lot more provisions of the code. You know, just tell us what you want to do and we're done, we're good. We don't have to litigate it.
So there is litigation. So you do litigate in your area?
I do mostly tax controversies with the IRS, usually on an appeals level, which is sort of an administrative level. Occasionally we'll have to go to court. And a lot in what we call the SALT area, which is state and local tax. That has really blossomed since 2018. There was a Supreme Court decision, Wayfair companies versus South Dakota versus Wayfair, I should say, which if you read the press release on the internet sales taxes, now you gotta pay taxes every time you go online and you buy something, the internet company has to charge you a sales tax, even if you're out of state from where the seller is. And there are exceptions, but that's the general rule. So we see a lot of the state and local tax issues come up as far as controversy.
So when you go, if you litigate, I assume it's a bench trial, right? You're not going, it's not a jury trial. You don't do jury trials.
We don't do jury trials, and frankly, most of the cases I've been involved in, they've settled.
They settle, yeah.
You know, you do a little horse trading with the IRS or with the State Department of Revenue, because nobody wants to get and have that crapshoot before the court. So I'm not by nature a litigator. I have partners who help me out on that. I just do the background, occasionally argue a motion, something along those lines, but I don't get involved in the nitty-gritty discovery and all that business.
Yeah, but the firm does do some litigation though.
Oh, yes. Oh,
Yeah.
yes. We have very vigorous litigation partners. Yeah. But they're not tax geeks, so that's why they need me.
Yeah. And the firm is really a tax law firm? Is that any other practices?
It's a general business firm.
Okay.
And we do some labor law. We have various specialty areas, for example, automobile dealerships, that sort of thing is a practice. Represent a local grocery store chain around here, you know, a lot of labor law and a lot of business law and business succession planning, which involves tax and and that side of things.
Got it. Interesting. How many lawyers at the firm?
We have over 30. I forget exactly how much, 30, 35 lawyers.
Got it. So relatively small. It's not an AM Law 100 firm. It's a relatively small firm, regional firm. Yeah.
Right.
Interesting. Okay, good. So is there any case along the way that stood out that was more interesting than others?
Absolutely. You know, I always tell my law students and the associates around here, being a lawyer is like being a cop. Just when you think you've seen it all, kind of thing. And it's really true. And this one case, and I won't go into too much details. I was a young lawyer, and there was not much money involved. So it was an associate who threw me in, and I was in the probate court, and this bloke had passed away. And he had a wife, and he also had a girlfriend on the side. And and she takes off. He didn't have much money. He did have some automobiles and, you know, that sort of thing he had collected. And she takes off with the automobile. And so we file suit in the probate court because the widow is still entitled to, you know, the estate. And I Department of Revenue in Missouri handles vehicle licensing and titling. And so I went to them and I got certified copies of the titles to show that the decedent owned the car, in fact, so I could introduce them in the court, you know, VIN number, whatever it was, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And so I get the paperwork back from Department of Revenue, and one of the vehicles was titled in the name of the girlfriend. And I look at the assignment on the back of the title, And I knew right away that the decedent's signature had been forged. Now, let me ask you, how did I know that the signature was forged? I'm not a handwriting expert, but I knew right away it was forged.
Well, you probably done work for them, and so you had their signature.
No. He dies in March. She signs the back of the title in April.
Oh.
You can't make it up, right? You know?
Can't make that one up.
You can't make it up. So I'm there in the judge, and I remember, may rest in peace, there was no time probate judge had been there forever. Lou Cohn, long since passed, may rest in peace. And they bring this out, and the other lawyer sort of slinks under the table, and the judge rolls his eyes. I like, come on.
Right, don't waste my
I can't say that
time.
was a big dollar case, but that was one of the most memorable cases I've been involved in.
It's interesting what people will do, right? That are,
yeah. Like, if you're going to do it right.
I mean, most people that try to cheat are usually pretty clever about it, right? That was not so clever.
That was not so clever. So, and like I said, I didn't need a handwriting expert to prove.
There you go. That's pretty funny. So, so given in today's world, I mean, would you recommend someone go to law school still today? What would your advice be?
Yeah, I'm a little out there, I guess. I really like the practice of law. I mean, it's you have to be the right kind of person to do it, to understand how the law works. And then you have to be and you have to be ready to deal with the political side as much as anything else. And some of those cases, like I've been involved in, some of it is, being nice to the IRS or Department of Revenue, and the other side in a case, let's say a litigation over a family. You see that stuff all the time. Brother hates sister and vice versa, and all that kind of stuff. And you have to be able to have, I'll call it, a legal bedside manner when dealing with the clients, because it's all gibberish to those clients, and you have to sort of explain, okay, this is how it works. If you want to be a happy taxpayer, follow the procedure. You don't want to be a happy taxpayer. You want to have problems, don't follow the procedure. And it's tough for folks to get a handle on that, but that's your job as a lawyer. And my license says attorney and counselor at law, and that's what you're supposed to do. I will say that there was a well-known estate planning lawyer. I went to the CLE, and he said that we estate planning lawyers practice family psychology without a license. We ought to be in jail.
Right. I think you could say that about, most professional services. I mean, whether you're a doctor, lawyer, I mean, you're doing a lot of counseling in addition to,
Right. And you have to be cut out for it, and you can be a very intelligent person, but it doesn't click. The law doesn't necessarily click with you.
Right.
And my first day of law school, they lined us up in the big conference room, and they said, look to the left and look to the right. One of you will not be here in the next year. And it was true, because there were, and the intelligent people got in, and they were, they did well maybe on their exams and everything else, but they just did not click with them how to be a lawyer.
Right. Well, that's really the key to anything. I mean, you have to find something that clicks, right? And then you'll thrive and do well.
Right.
Like anything in life. Yeah, no, it's very true. So you're still a big advocate. Go to law school, become a lawyer. We need more good lawyers.
Oh, absolutely. And there's a need for it. And I think that for the right people, again, you have to be committed to it. And the other thing is that you have to understand it's a very stressful profession. And they have whole programs that CLEs you can take now, and ethics for the various bars, a member of the Missouri and Oklahoma bar, and they have, you know, mental health awareness month and what have you, because you will be
Okay.
in the pressure cooker.
Sure.
There's no question about it. And you're dealing with a lot of stuff that, you know, and you roll your eyes like, don't you have a life? Can't we get this thing settled? You know, that sort of thing.
Right.
And some people, they want, you know, they want their day in court and they want their $1.50 pound of flesh out of the sister or whatever it is. And that's like, okay, it's a living, you know.
So let me ask you a question. So I know there is a lot of stuff to manage and it's stressful. So I'm going to switch to the topic of technology. I mean, how much are you using that in your practice? And is that helping to give you more efficiency and leverage?
Yeah. Well, we're in the process of upgrading the technology in the system, and I have a love-hate relationship because I'm the older generation and we're not used to devices and that sort of thing. And my kids half the time roll their eyes when I ask them a question on my iPhone or whatever. But yeah, I love it. And what I learned to love is the use of the computer for storing documents and research and what have you.
Yeah.
My prior firm before I joined this one, McCarthy, we had offices all over the country. And so if I did research, let's say one of my partners in Florida called me to do some federal tax research or whatever, they didn't have to call me. They could go at 2 a.m. They can get on their computer and they can look on the person's file and see, you know, the company's file and see what research I had done and even my notes that I had made on the cases or my notes that I had handwritten for speaking with the client. And it's a tremendous time saver because it used to be, okay, now what did I do with that case? And you have that paper file and, you know, that sort of thing.
Are you storing it in a CRM? Are you using like something like Salesforce or something?
Well, we're trying to get there. We still use some paper files and we're trying to, we had an issue with the company. We were trying to get there. It didn't quite work out. We're trying to work out the kinks on that. I'm not involved in that process, so I couldn't tell you where we are. But I got what system we do have. I inevitably save everything on the, you know, the server. And it makes life a lot easier. And I tell my partner, well, here, I saved it, everything you need to know. All the email correspondence, everything else is saved there. And you don't need to look paper.
Yep. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I mean, everyone was afraid of putting things on the cloud. Now everything's on the cloud. And, you know, the ability to sort of collaborate virtually is just, it's really changed the way people do business.
It really is. And it's it makes life a lot easier, I think.
Yeah.
When it works. When it doesn't work, it drives me to distraction. Don't ask.
Yep. Absolutely. So let me just wrap this up here. What's the best way for someone to reach you if they want to get in touch with you and learn more about your practice and connect?
Yeah, well, you can go to our website, of course, McCarthy, you know, mlklaw.com, and or you can send me an email or you can leave a phone call in our general number, and that's the best way to reach me.
Excellent.
And I'd be more than happy to talk to anybody in the profession or interested in the profession about it. That's why I'll leave you with this. That's one of my missions as an attorney. As I mentioned, I teach, but also to mentor young lawyers.
Excellent.
Because I was at a firm where they did not do that, and then I was at a firm that did do that, and it made a huge difference in my life, and I'm sort of passing that along. So.
Yeah, I agree. Mentorship is huge, and I hear a lot of firms do. I asked a question that they do use mentors, and I think that's really helpful to sort of get your footing and accelerate. learning and being competent, right?
Yeah, here's what they taught you in law school. Okay, this is how it really works.
Right.
You know,
Exactly.
and I tell my students, they have examples in the book. Don't do that. I'll say, don't do that.
It makes you think, why don't we change the curriculum then if that's not the way if it doesn't translate to the real world? It makes you think about that, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And my students are grateful that I'm giving them real world experience as opposed to, nothing wrong with learning the
Theory.
theory, but also, the as I mentioned, the politics behind the law and all that.
Yeah. Anyway, all right. Well, listen, this has been interesting to hear about your practice and what kind of work you do.
No worries.
So we're going to thank once again Norman Newmark, and I got to read it, McCarthy, Leonard, and Kammerer for being our guests today. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And this is sponsored by EmotionTrac, and we are a legal tech company. We use artificial intelligence to gather nonverbal emotions that people use for trials and mediation for case preparation. Thanks a lot, Norman. Appreciate it.
Take care. Be well.
Thank you.